Hello, my pretties. Greetings. I wanted to make a video giving my perspective and my experiences dating women as a man with long hair. I'm gonna give you the good, the bad, the indifferent, the ugly, and even the ugly and the bad. We can redefine what that would mean. Ultimately, it's all good because it's all feedback and it's all a sorting process. So that's important to keep in mind. Also, I want to share with you, I've been growing my hair out since I was 16. I wasn't dating until I was in my 20s. So I have no experience as a short-haired man in the dating world that I can compare upon, right? But I talk to people, I read, I watch videos, I have friends of all kinds. So through conversations with other people and through reading and so forth, I can learn about the perspectives of other people, and now here's your opportunity to learn about the perspective of mine. To who knows, maybe it'll help advance your own perspective and learn some new things about yourself. That's certainly something I enjoy by getting other people's perspectives, and even causes some self-reflection for me, as maybe this might for you as well. So I will start with the bad, put that in quotes, bad experiences first, and then I'll move on to the more pleasurable experiences. So I do not date very frequently because I'm pretty selective, and also, just going to be vulnerable here for a moment, I'm a ghost magnet. And so that's caused a lot of self-reflection too, and also a degree of acceptance with that too, for the reasons I've come up with why that might be in the speculation. So I'm selective and I'm ghosted typically, and stood up typically at a point where we haven't even had a first date yet. But generally speaking, the overwhelming majority of the time that a date actually happens, it's a pretty rewarding experience for both of us, and there's typically at least a second date. So here's what happens: the more negative, the bad experiences, the ugly ones. A woman might say, I am not interested in long hair on men, just flat out hard no, it'll never happen, I'll never date a man with long hair. And that's fine. I'm not in the camp of people that is going to give someone a hard time for having a preference when it comes to the romantic department. When it comes to just making friends, I mean, physically, I'll give anybody a shot. It just depends on who they are as a person on the inside. When it comes to romantic interest, yeah, I think it's perfectly okay to have a physical preference, or even if someone wants to take a hard line for or against a physicality, to each their own when it comes to the romantic department. And going into this, the dating world, as a man with long hair, I've always known I would be probably more of an acquired taste than somebody who fits the mold of what is common. A short-haired man who has a certain look that is just more mainstream. I always figured I'd be more of an acquired taste, and I've always certainly been right about that. So no surprise there, and I accept it. It's not a big deal. So right off the bat, probably the most common negative experience, and it's not even a negative, but for lack of a better thing to call it, just a hard line. I don't date men with long hair. It's not my thing. Totally cool. No big deal at all. In fact, I appreciate the honesty. I have a preference for the hourglass figure, but I've been attracted to many women that have something other than the hourglass figure. Women of all different shapes, sizes, body physicalities, hair colors, eyes, whatever, you name it. Because the overriding thing for me personally is not even the personality, it's that energetic aura. Sometimes there's a woman who carries herself in a way energetically that just overpowers everything else, and she could be something other than an hourglass figure, and wow, I'm turned on. Really, really interested. I want to get to know that person more. It's incredible. So other things that I might hear from women are, you're too pretty for me. Your hair is better than mine, and I don't date men with long hair who have hair that's better than mine. Or I don't feel I would be good enough for you. Stuff like that, just based on appearance. And what that tells me, there's always a psychology behind every answer. I never look at just the answer. I like examining it. So what that tells me, they're communicating to me they have these insecurities that hopefully they're working on within themselves, that they'll at some point get beyond, so they stop holding themselves prisoner behind these real arbitrary walls that's just hurting themselves over. And these could be women that I have no judgment against. They're perfectly fine women. They just have this deep-rooted insecurity that is really holding them back. So I wish the best for them, that they do whatever healing they need to do, whatever self-work, self-love that they need, so they don't have a point of view ever again of, oh, he's too good for me, or oh, I can't date someone with prettier hair, or it doesn't even have to be hair. It could just be anything. An attractively good-looking guy that maybe gets attention from women. To just get past that, that insecurity would behoove anybody who has those insecurities. So that's another one. Can't date you, Tom, because you have prettier hair than me. I've heard that more than once. And that's a bummer, man. It's a bummer because I see someone in that person, obviously, because I asked that person out or whatever the case may be, someone there that I really wanted to get to know, and uh, she doesn't want to because of a physicality that she's maybe intimidated by, or who knows. So that's always been unfortunate. When it's more of a hard line, nope, can never date a man with long hair, that seems to be like, I don't consider that to be an unfortunate thing, because that's not an insecurity. This is a woman who's clear on what she wants and what she doesn't want, and that's fine. That's totally cool. But the one that comes from a place that's rooted with insecurities, that's an issue for that woman going forward. So I hope they all heal. Uh, so those would, that pretty much, off the top of my head, covers the bad experiences for the most part. So some of the good experiences would be, there's that acquired taste. There's women out there who they see a man with long hair and, oh, that's such a huge turn on for them, even sexually arousing, which gets to another positive. There's a trade-off. So a man with short hair, as a generality, is going to attract a larger number of women, but a man with long hair, especially in my experience, is going to attract a smaller number of women, but those women are much more passionate. They're typically more sexually charged. They're typically more free-spirited. And the short-haired guys typically tend to attract the women that are looking for that mold of a man that fits in mainstream society, and they're typically seen as someone who is safe, trustworthy, short hair, mainstream, fits a mold, even if it's completely inaccurate. In fact, it seems most of the time that is inaccurate. Short hair or long hair, it doesn't seem to have any correlation to the probability that somebody might be trustworthy and safe, or not safe and untrustworthy. But there is that wide misconception, that wide inaccuracy that, oh man, fits physicality of a certain common standard with short hair and so forth, therefore safety, trustworthy, and the woman may not even be sexually turned on or find him physically that appealing, but they'll go with that man anyway and end up getting hurt just the same as she would, dating somebody with long hair. The probability is about the same. So with long hair, me being a man with long hair, I am, as a generality, largely seen as someone who is maybe out there playing the field, maybe manipulating hidden agendas and so forth. Maybe if it's not that, I might be seen as an honest man who's none of those things, but just wants to live a wild life, have a good time, carefree, sleep with a bunch of women. Maybe I'm a man whore, all these kinds of things. Someone who's maybe not as safe, not as trustworthy as this guy with short hair that fits a mainstream physical mold. But having said all of that, for me to be attracted to a woman, part of that has to be some kind of, it's okay to speculate, but to be conclusive about these things, about these kinds of judgments based on the length of someone's hair, to be conclusive about that as something that is unappealing to me. So I like a woman with the maturity, the emotional maturity, to have these speculations, look at patterns, statistical probabilities, but at the end of the day, not be conclusive about it, give someone a chance, be open, look for non-arbitrary red flags that are actually red flags, you know what I mean? Or signs of attraction that are actual signs of attraction, or some kind of chemistry and compatibility, regardless of the physicality or the choice of a man makes to grow his hair long or keep it short, all of that stuff. Just that open-mindedness of let's see what's there. Let's find out about who this person is. Society says long hair, probably untrustworthy, probably not very safe, just wants to sleep around, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. But let's see if society is full of crap or not, and find out what this man is really like. And same thing with the short-haired guys too. You know, just it doesn't really matter. So those are typically the women that I'm attracted to. And also that other trade-off I alluded to earlier about um, being, as a generality, women that are into men with long hair are more passionately into men with long hair than women that are into guys with short hair. They're typically not as passionate about it, and they're willing to have sex with them even though they're not aroused, because they're driven by this false sense of safety, security, and trustworthiness, and then they end up getting hurt. So that trade-off, for me, I've judged as worth it. Plus, I didn't grow my hair out to gain the approval of other people. I did it because I feel it's an expression of who I am from the inside, bringing it out to the outside. Same thing with the clothes that I wear and my different facets of my different personality. I've got different looks, different accessories, different outfits, and so on. You know, depending on how I feel on a particular day, I can look a certain way, even different hairstyles. And today I'm feeling this way, I guess. So here I am, presented as I am. But those trade-offs, for me, as a man with long hair, worth it. The passion that comes into it, like, even though I don't get that many first dates, the ones that I've had typically go so well. And anytime I've ever, speaking of the passion part, anytime I've ever gotten to a point where I'm actually making out with a woman, so this is a more physical combined with emotional expression when you're making out with another human being, it is so charged, so driven, so passionate that we've literally steamed up windows clear across the room because there was just so much heat being generated from us. And that is, wow, what an experience that is, to be able to make out with somebody and have that much passion. Now, it doesn't mean that you're in love with the person. It could just be lust. It could just be chemistry with someone whom you are not compatible with whatsoever. But it could be a combination of lust and love, chemistry and compatibility, and all those things. Obviously, that would be the most ideal situation. And truth be told, this is something all of you are probably aware of. Sometimes you don't really know how you feel until you've had a more of a sexual, physical experience with somebody. Other times, you know right off the bat, maybe within the first 5 seconds, so there is no first date whatsoever, and that's fine too. But anytime you decide you want to give love a shot or romance a shot or dating a shot with somebody, there's an inherent risk that it's not going to work out. And when it's mutual, that's ideal. I've had instances where we both decided, I think there's a good friendship here. I'm just not interested. There's no chemistry. Let's not even take it to the next level, because why would we? And it's like, yeah, it's agreed. That's the best. But typically, that's not how it works out. Typically, one is into the other person and the other isn't, or there's enough of a lopsidedness there to where it's a disparity and it's noticeable and it just doesn't work for whatever reason. And I have been on both sides of that coin, or I've been interested, she's not, she's been interested, I'm not, we're both not interested, or we're both interested, but then eventually over time, we're both not at the same time. That's rare. Or we're both interested in the beginning for a while, and then someone eventually is, and the other still is, and that's hurtful. But that happens too. But that's just inherent risk. And thankfully, for whatever reason, anytime I have gotten involved with a woman before, when it ends, obviously all of them have ended for me at this point because I'm single right now, unspoken for, available man. It's January 26th, 2023. But the ones where we actually did have something, and then eventually, for whatever reason, it didn't work out, it ended well. We're amicable. Some of us are still friends. Actually, to some extent, I'd say all of us are still friends because there's no bad blood between us. It's pretty awesome. The only time there's ever been bad blood between me and said woman is if, and it's always happened in the beginning, either after the first date or much more commonly before a first date could even take place, where there's ghosting or it gets stood up. And we've all been there. Unfortunately, that is a wide scoped problem throughout all of society. I don't know how we got to this place, but ghosting and standing people up is so commonplace, where you have actual plans, solid plans, that maybe the other person made these plans with you, and they're the ones that ghost or stand you up or whatever. That's happened to me plenty of times, more times than I care to admit. I don't understand it. It's a cowardly, self-absorbed thing to do. It's just a real crappy way to treat another human being, and there is no excuse for that. So we can be on the same page for that. With all the technology out there to send a message, a text, something, to communicate something, even if it's a BS reason, at least have the common courtesy to let the person know. And I never understood why somebody would do that, but and I've never done that to anybody. I've had the hard conversation, where I have to let the person know who's clearly interested in me that I'm just not feeling that way. I feel this way. So that's really important to do with other human beings, is to communicate. And if someone doesn't accept how you feel, well, then at that point it's on them. And if you have to block because they get really weird or aggressive or whatever, creepy, then block them. But there should always be that communication to at least let that person know. So, and if it's a terrible excuse, at least there's communication. And then you can sort of proceed from there, maybe just decide not to give that person a second chance because their reason was real BS, but at least they communicated. So those are the bulk of my experiences as a man with long hair, and those trade-offs in the dating scene and looking for romance, or at least open to it. Most of my single life, I've just been open to it but not looking for it. But at this moment, my current headspace, I'm just outright, I've got the intention out there into the world, into the universe, that, yeah, I'm actively looking for it, which indicates I don't have it, because I don't have it. So I want to put that intention out there, and who knows where it will lead. And the best way, the only way you can really get a feel for somebody is taking it offline. That's if you start it online, is to take it offline. If there's some kind of initial interest there, I say as soon as possible, take it offline so that you can find out more quickly and just see how it feels. Like anytime I've ever asked a woman out from online, it's because I don't want to just get to know the person, but I want to see how it feels for both me and said woman, and then go from there. And so you just don't really know until you're in each other's face, creating experiences, doing something fun, conversation, laughter, going for a walk, going swimming, I don't know, going out dancing. I love dancing. Some kind of fun activity, a meal, food, maybe get involved in the prep work together. I'm not a big fan of things like going to movies, especially first date kind of stuff, because how do you get to know somebody that way? You're not really spending time with them. You're spending time with the TV or the movie theater screen. But what I found is if I am with a woman offline, in person, spending time with her, there's some interest there, there's something there, so we want to explore that and see if there's something more there. And if there is, as a generality, because I've got this long hair, if she's into me, she's hardcore, passionately into me. And vice versa. So we're both trying to figure out, is this a long-term thing? Is it just something that's temporary? And sometimes, well, so far, all the time, it has been temporary. Some last longer than others. Some is very temporary, where it's just maybe a few days and we come to realize that this isn't it. And that's totally okay. Sometimes, and this isn't to sound crass or crappy or anything. This is just the reality of it. And I think on some level you know this too. Sometimes the conversation is great and you think there's a great chemistry there, and then you make out with that person, or maybe you just outright have a sexual experience with that person and you realize, kind of lost it. It just wasn't what I thought it would be. Then you sort of question, why is that? The conversation, the laughter, we got all these things in common, compatibility, and that sexual chemistry isn't there, or that make-out chemistry, which making out is sexual too, even if you're not having sex. It's the stimulation that goes on is completely arousing. So I'll just file that under the category some sexual activity, whether it's outright sex or just making out. Sometimes that experience just goes against all the other experiences you've had with that person, which is really weird, but it happens. But like, if you go through all the different experiences of conversation, laughter, doing things outside, doing things inside, the romance, the sexual activities, the non-sexual activities, and everything just feels great, the chemistry and the compatibility is there, then it's like, let's take it to the next level type of stuff. And at the end of the day, I guess we're all just navigating from our own perspectives, trying to find our way through the world, and romance is a big part of it, man, that's for sure. Especially if you're someone like me who's now in my current headspace of not just being open to it, but I'm putting the intention out there. I would love to find someone who's also loving to find someone like me. She's out there somewhere. Likewise, I'm out there for said mystery woman, and I will keep dating till I find that person. And then I'll still keep dating, but I'll just be dating that person. So either way, I guess it's good, right? Yeah. Drop your comments. I'd love to hear your experiences dating, because you've got your own perspective that's going to be different than mine. And if you have anything you'd like to say about any of my dating experiences, feel free. Maybe there's something I'm missing. I have no idea. I'm big on self-reflection and even constructive criticism too. And it's just overall, it's just great to get other people's perspectives, because then, you know, you've only got your own perspective, I've only got mine, and we increase our understanding of the world, and hopefully other people too, the more perspectives that we can learn from. So it's important to talk and communicate, which is why I made this video. I hope you enjoyed it. 22 minutes. Didn't think I was going to talk that long. But I kept it clear and concise and moving forward instead of a bunch of and then those videos are hard to watch, so hopefully you made it through this one. Bye for now. I hope you enjoyed and share your perspective with me. That's really valuable. Mwah.